Hello, I am C-3PO Human-Cyborg Relations. Welcome aboard the Star Speeder 3000.
Your vehicle, Bravo 229er, is now ready. Please begin immediate boarding and have a safe and informative journey.
Well, maybe the Sunday drivers have come out a-hunting for gas. Ain't many folks can pay no 18 cents a gallon.
Scanners detecting more trouble in Sector 9.
Hey, guys! It looks like we're all here! Let's go!
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mangello, and this is show number 739. And together, as we have been for more than 18 years, we're going to celebrate the magic of the Disney parks, movies, Marvel, Star Wars, and more here on the podcast, my weekly live video on Facebook every Wednesday night, events, blog, and more. Please be sure to join the community at wdwradio.com/clubhouse, subscribe to the podcast, tell a friend, and find everything else at wdwradio.com. So we're going to have some fun this week as we let our imaginations run wild and share our top 10 places we'd love to sleep in overnight in Walt Disney World. And I don't mean the resorts, but the attractions, buildings, scenes, and even a few places that I'll let you listen and judge for yourself. And I'm going to ask you to share where you'd like to spend the night if you could as well. Then stay tuned for our Disney Trivia Question of the Week, where you can enter for a chance to win a Disney Prize package. More information about our next Meet of the Month in Walt Disney World, your voicemails, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. Part of what we love about visiting the Disney parks is our ability to leave real life at the door, because as we walk through the turnstiles and under the train tracks, we enter a world of pure imagination and fantasy. And the parks are a place where we can be a kid again and have fun and imagine anything that we like. And it means that the parks are places that we love to spend our entire day and often evenings in. And I'm sure, if you're like me, during at least one of those visits, you also imagined and wished that you could just stay there overnight. So what if you could? Well, that's the subject of this week's, what I think is going to be fun topic, the top 10 places in Walt Disney World we wish we could sleep in overnight. And when you hear top 10 and thinking about sleeping overnight and people that you just want to cuddle with, you, of course, think of Tim Foster, or maybe I just do, from Celebrations Magazine.
What? Okay. Well, I got my sleeping bag, got my PJs on. The cuddling thing is throwing me a little bit, but I'll roll with it.
Listen, if you're like me as a fellow podcaster, you always have your PJs on. It's the beauty of podcasting.
I have them on right now. That's right. And it's 11 o'clock in the morning. So,
I think this is going to be really like a nice, light, fun topic, because it's also something that I think has really come up in conversations over the more than 10, 15 years, whatever it's been that we've been doing top 10s. Probably especially about the time that things like the Castle Suite had opened and the idea of staying overnight was sort of front and center for a lot of people. But I've received this question multiple times, like either giving an interview or like on the show or in the clubhouse. Very recently, listener and friend Thatcher Rouse presented this. So I figured it was probably a really good time to do it. And I think, you know what, Tim, too, I think in addition to you and I sharing our ideas, this really is going to serve, what I want it to be is to serve as an invitation to you, our friend, who's sitting around this virtual table, possibly in your pajamas, for you to share where you would like to sleep over and get creative. You can share your idea or tell us how insane or wrong we are by calling the voicemail at 407-900-9391. I'm also going to post this question in the clubhouse. So when I presented this to you via email, Tim, I could almost hear your squeals of joy from wherever you live in Pennsylvania all the way down here in Florida, because I have to imagine this is something you've probably thought of as well.
You heard that?
I did.
That's embarrassing. Wow. Yeah, no, this was such a fun idea when you sent it. I thought it was fantastic. And the fun part, as always, I can't wait to hear about the rules and caveats and restrictions you will put in place that will knock half the items off my list. But
like the drag race in Greece, the rules are there ain't no rules. So you can have at it. I mean, I'll make them up as long as we go along. But my thought process, I'll just say my thought process going in was, this is not what resort do I wish I could sleep in overnight.
Right. See, right out of the gate, you hit me with one. All right.
Like these are places. So maybe, okay. My thought process, these are places that you can't book. It's sort of a wish list. And the places might not even necessarily exist.
Right. My big rule, and I'll just say this in advance of everything on my list except for one or two. It's a given that the Imagineers will go in ahead of time and make that bed comfy and clean it up so it's actually a place you can sleep at night, you know. And you'll see what I mean when we get into it.
I'm sure. I think that there's some places on my list that maybe that is not going to necessarily apply.
Okay, we'll see where we go here.
So I am excited, enthralled,
Nervous.
Slightly nervous,
Scared.
yet wildly curious to see what this is really going to be a peek into the mind of little Timmy Foster. So please favor us with the first one.
Now hold on.
This is going to be more than 10. I'm going to let you know it's more than 10 because I have I have 11 on my list already.
Your psyche's going to be laid bare too for everyone to see. Let's be clear. And I can't wait to see. So my first one, I'm just randomly going to pick one. One of the first things I thought of was actually over in Tomorrowland and the Carousel of Progress. Up on stage.
We just bonded.
Oh, now the thing was, I was trying. Now, it's not a mystery, I guess, which scene. I'm going to go to the Christmas scene, but I did go through because my immediate thought was the Christmas scene. But I thought, you know what? Let me think about the other scenes. Maybe I would rather stay there, but I quickly knocked them off. The first scene, I can't handle the pumping my own water thing. That's just not going to work. I don't roll like that. And July is too hot. When I stay at a resort in Disney, I immediately put the air on 64 and I'm happy. And that's not happening in July. October, that exercise machine Patty's got, the one that doesn't work then, doesn't work now. That's just going to be too noisy. So we're going to do Christmas. But it would be fun. I think for all of us, when we think about that Christmas scene, that's that idyllic Christmas scene. We all think we want to go. We want to have that Christmas scene. I want to sleep under the tree. I don't know where I would sleep, but there's no bed. This is where I said the Imagineers, they're going to craft something for me, you know, perhaps in the dining room away from the bathroom because you know what's going on in there. But I want to play the video game, though. That's the thing. I want to see if I can beat Grandma and get that high score, being very careful not to shout my numbers out loud because you know what happens. And so, yeah, I think it would be fun to stay there. I'd love to I try and explore the whiteboard and the bulletin board for all little Easter eggs and stuff. And I found some. It'd be fun to just go up there and look and, you know, root around and see. But yeah, that's my first one. Carousel of Progress, Christmas scene. It'll feel like Christmas morning when I wake up.
So first things first, Marty called, wants changes. It's
yes.
from the board. I love this. The carousel, Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress was very, 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 very high on my list. May have even been sort of the first one that came to mind. And I think it's for a few reasons. And maybe I'm almost all kind of stretching my reasons why, right? So It's classic. It's Walt. Unlike you, though, I knew exactly where I wanted to go. And I'm going into the second act. I'm going into the roaring 20s. I know it's hot. I know it's July 4th weekend, but and I think I sort of sometimes feel like I was born in the wrong time. Like I long for, and this is like real world, like I long for a simpler time. I love the idea of the 20s and 30s and 40s, not having the distract. And I chose the 20s over the 40s because, like, I don't want a TV. I don't want some of those distractions. I want to live in that simple time. I want to gather around the radio with friends and families, whether I'm listening to, Babe Ruth, and listening to the game, or, advertisements for Al Jolson talking and singing. There's electricity and there's electric starters replacing the cranks, and Thomas Edison has brought it into our homes, and maybe everything doesn't work perfectly, but I do love that simpler time, and I'd love to sort of, at least for one night in a fantasy way, be able to spend it there in Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress.
I love it. That's the root beer scene, right?
It's also the Uncle Orville. Uncle Orville is also in the bathtub. I'm probably not going to venture over to that side of the house.
Yeah.
I don't want to see what's beyond the paper, if you know what I'm talking about.
I understand.
But yeah, simpler time in Carousel of Progress. Very, very, very high on my list. I bounced around, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to go next. You know what? I'll stick with the theme. I'll stick with the theme of being able to transport back to another place and another time, very specifically to the same time period. And I'm going to sort of make a night of it. And I'm going to start my evening off in the Tip Top Club with the Anthony Fremont Orchestra playing in the background before I retire to my 5th floor guest room in the Hollywood Tower Hotel.
5th floor.
Right, because that's where the doors open, right? You go on the 5th floor.
Okay.
5th floor?
I don't know.
Right.
I can't go on there. I'm too scared.
I love the time period. I love the theming. I love the idea of being able to wander the gardens at night with the misting fans going and the lighting, wandering through the empty boiler room at night. It's creepy, it's foreboding, but I know nothing really bad is going to happen. Possibly the elevator ride up to my room might be a little sketchy, but that's okay. And I'm going to avoid the chalk outline of the doorway from Little Girl Lost in the post-show area, so I do not enter whatever dimension that is. But I love this idea of, again, spending an evening. And again, you're like, Mangello, you're taking this way too seriously. Like, it's just, what ride do you want to spend the night in? But I would. I'd like to sort of have the Hollywood Tower Hotel and the glitz and glamour of that time period of old Hollywood.
Can there be, if I get this right, a talking Tina doll in your room?
I really hope not. I really hope not. I'd rather have Telly Savalas in my room than talking Tina. But, and if Anthony Fremont is there, I want to make sure I don't get on his bad side. So,
it seems like, I don't know the inner machinations of the entire building, but looking at the other things I have on my list, well, there's some other possibilities, but I'm thinking real world, if Disney really did want to do that, make a suite in there. Yeah. There's room enough in there they could.
Listen, I love the idea, and we've talked about this, I think, on a past show, about this idea of creating themed resorts.
Yeah.
And remember, we've talked about this on insert show number here, when we talked about Tower of Terror. The original concept at one point was going to be a hotel. It was going to be a hotel from the 20s. And originally what the idea was that if you were staying there, this was pre-Magical Express, Disney would pick you up in this sort of like old Woody station wagon, and they would they'd have blackout curtains on the windows. So as soon as you got picked up at the airport, you were immersed in the story. And you didn't see anything on the outside until you got there. And as the door opened, you have traveled back in time into the late 20s And being a guest at this real sort of Hollywood Tower hotel, I would love to see some sort of execution on an immersive storytelling themed. And I know we're talking things like the Galactic Star Cruiser, but in a different type of way.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. I might even go to the Tower of Terror in that case.
You'll take the stairs.
Well, I'll take the stairs though. Yes. But yeah, even then, I don't think that will end well for me anyway. So. Let's see my next one. Let's go here. So back to the Magic Kingdom. This was a fun one. The attraction that I feel like nobody knows is actually there because you walk by it all the time and don't realize there's something to do there.
The Haunted Mansion.
So let's go. The Haunted Mansion. Let's go spend the night in the Swiss Family Treehouse.
Oh, I love Tim Foster so much.
Which has the bonus of already having a bedroom, so you don't have to build one. But maybe put some nice pillows on there. But I love the Swiss Family Treehouse at night. Walking up at night, nobody's there during the day anyway, but especially at night. I've talked before about how when you go at night, and especially when you get up towards the top, how it's so different, and it's not scary, but it's kind of spooky, mysterious. You feel like you're miles away from the hustle and bustle of the Magic Kingdom, and it's so quiet. You look out over the dark surroundings of Adventureland. But like you said, if you're going to spend the night there, it's a house. It's got all the comforts of home with a little Imagineering help, I'm sure. Pop down to the kitchen for a bite or order in. But yeah, just be able to spend the night, and not just to spend the night in Adventureland and like, hey, I'm here, but for those who remember the film and have watched it, kind of reliving those adventures as best as you can by yourself. But hanging out in the rooms and listening to the Swiska polka and getting water from the water wheel and all of that, and living like you are on a Swiss Family Robinson vacation. It's not a vacation, I guess, if you're marooned on an island, but hey, whatever.
So Tim, you are of same mind, relatively speaking, and heart, because this was also on my list. And I never had a treehouse as a kid. I'm not saying like I was a depraved child, far from it, but I just never had a treehouse. But this is sort of like one of those dream places that you would love, because it does. It has all the comforts of home. It is that simpler way of living. I think you could only do it in Walt Disney World, because if you took this tree and put it anywhere else in Florida, the dinosaur-sized mosquitoes outside would just smother you. But there's no mosquitoes and bugs at Disney. But again, I love the rustic feel, the labyrinthian, sort of stairs going up and down, the open air rooms, the 19th century little odds and ends and curios. This is, glamping plus to a certain degree. Yeah. It does. It very much satisfies so many things that I wanted to do, including, you're right, possibly or probably the best views of any of the places that we'll talk about on our lists.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. We'll see. Because I got some good ones coming up. That's true. So.
But yeah, I like the idea of the treehouse. I would totally dig the treehouse. I could live in something as long as it had good Wi-Fi and I could get Amazon Prime. That's really
I don't think they had Wi-Fi back in those days. But just watch your step at night. Sleepwalking might be a challenge.
Also true. But flashlights or candles would be helpful.
Careful.
You know what? I'll stay in Magic Kingdom. I'll stay close by, and I'll stay in the similar type of vein, because the Swiss Family Treehouse, I think about, as a kid, this is sort of what you would imagine your treehouse to be. And I think there's another location that by virtue of story and by virtue of what it is meant to convey to us as guests is this incredible place that would be perfect for not just you to spend the night, but almost imagine this as a sleepover with some friends. Because by day, Tom Sawyer Island in Frontierland is not just a wonderful sort of respite and escape from sometimes the hustle and bustle of the park, but you have the caves and passageways and the fort and bridges and all kinds. So you can run and play and hide, but then the idea of, spending the night here, whether it's camping out somewhere or spending the night in the fort and, grabbing a flashlight and walking around and checking out some of those spooky but safe places and winding pathways. Again, incredible views, the simple sounds and silence that you would probably get. I would, like, if they offered some sort of opportunity to spend the night in Tom Sawyer Island, that is something that I would jump on very quickly.
And I had that on my list with a caveat. And I had it as a 2-for-1 with something else, but I might come back to that. But my only caveat was it's a great idea.
And Polly's dockside has to be open so you can get fried chicken.
2 caveats besides that one. All right. So besides that one, the idea of camping on Tom Sawyer Island sounds fantastic. Only problem is I'm not much of a camper. I'm kind of delicate. So I need Imagineering to put one of those Fort Wilderness cabins there. They can take it down the next day, but if the cabin's there, I'm good. That's glamping, right? Is that what that means?
Well, that's why I think that I would sleep in the fort.
In the fort?
Right.
Okay.
Let me also be clear.
I'll accept
this
that.
This is not the body of a camper by any stretch of the imagination. But the fort's cool, right? The fort is a cool place to be able to spend the night, and you have all or at least most of the necessary amenities there.
Right. Or the caves. That's inside. I'm not brave enough for that.
The caves could be a little spooky. I think the caves would be a little spooky at night.
You scared me off of the caves. I'm not, because you told me how creepy they were. I can't do it. Let's see. My next one. Okay, I'm going to go here. Actually, one thing, when you presented this topic to me, one of the things that came to mind was the thing that kids do. And I don't remember doing this when I was little, but there's a lot of places you can go as a kid. If you're in school with some of your friends, if you have a birthday party, you can go to this place, like in the cities, have museums and things like that, where you can have a sleepover with your friends and spend the night. So I was thinking of places in Disney that would kind of go along that same idea. And in Philadelphia, up here in sunny Pennsylvania, we have the Franklin Institute, which you all remember from National Treasure, of course. And they do that there. If you have a birthday party, you can go spend the night in the atrium with Ben Franklin and have some science fun and that kind of thing. So I thought, in Disney, let's go to another institute. Let's go to the Dino Institute. And let's have a sleepover there. And I'm not talking at the feet of the Carnotaurus. That's not going to work because I'm a light sleeper. That's not going to work. But I'm thinking like in the queue, that big round area you have, that is the Dino Institute. And it's like the museum with the exhibits and all that. And I was thinking how fun it would be if you were a kid and you had your friends and you had a slumber party there and you were in the dino thing and you had like dino activities and things like that. You could order in food and you could run downstairs and put a little ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise on your thing by turning the pipes on, which would be a lot of fun. But I think for dinosaur lovers, and I was one as a kid, I was a huge dinosaur kid, that would have been like the ultimate sleepover birthday party experience to have it at a Dino Institute. And thankfully there's one in the animal kingdom. So I'd love to hang out there. They have to take the queue stuff out, the ropes and stuff, but they can put that back the next day. So.
Interesting. You won't ride the attraction, but you want to sleep there overnight.
All right. I love the attraction. It's just not the most sleep-friendly attraction, you might say, in Walt Disney World. It's a little bumpy, a little loud. We'll go on the ride, but we'll hang out in the museum park.
Tim Foster's top 10 attractions to fall asleep on in Walt Disney World.
Go.
Don't you dare say American Adventure. Okay, I will follow you over to Disney's Animal Kingdom, where I have surprisingly, you nobody wants to sleep over at Disney's Animal Kingdom because it's 17 degrees hotter with 100% more humidity. But I actually have more than one spot at Disney's Animal Kingdom, and this idea of camping / glamping is going to follow along with us, because I am going to sort of camp / glamp out, not necessarily where you might think, all that's on my list as well, but I'm going over to the Navi River Journey.
Yes, it's on my list.
It's inside, it's air conditioned. You have the beautiful flora and fauna that's glowing with the bioluminescent lights, and you've got the sounds of the shaman of song and all that beautiful music in the background. I love water, and I love water features and the sound of like the gently flowing Navi River and that sort of lapping water. And I think there's something incredibly relaxing about that attraction to me. And visually it's stunning, but if you've been on it more than once, and especially like if you're local or you have a chance to go on it again, go on it one time and close your eyes and just experience it with your ears only, because those exotic rainforest sounds of these alien creatures and the music, there's something very, very soothing and very serene and very calming about that. So I would first pack a lunch and dinner and snacks from Satuli Canteen, and I would glamp out inside the Navi River Journey.
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite attractions.
Or what, I'm probably saying that wrong. I don't even know what that means, but
well, you have to sing it, not say it.
That's all right.
We don't want to hear that either. But no, I sort of had that. I'm going to cheat because this isn't my real answer, but I had Pandora on my list, but I was thinking more of, unless this is the other one you were talking about, in which case I don't want to steal this from you. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Nope, no clue.
All right. No, I just had Pandora, but more.
No, this is the only thing I have in Pandora.
Oh, no, more of being out in Pandora and having. They definitely will need to make some accommodations for me, but having a place to stay on one of the mountains, like partway up, and then being able to look out over the Pandora Vista with all of the bioluminescent fauna and the waterfalls and how cool that would be. Because that's one of our favorite places.
So are you are you one of those guys that's gonna scale the side of the Pandora Mountains?
No. Imagineer. They need to make me a villa with a balcony with an elevator.
Because you've seen those people.
I told you I can't. I need a cabin. I can't sleep outside. I'm not scaling any mountains, much less a mountain that's floating in the sky.
Right? Do you ever see those people that scale the sides?
Yes.
And then they sleep there. They put their little I don't know what they're called.
I want to be clear. That is not what I meant. So I'm in the lap of luxury here. I want to be sitting in a hot tub looking out over this. I'm not.
Mommy, what is that man doing on the side? Don't worry, honey. That's just Tim Foster.
It's like a little over. Tent, kind of hammered in the side, and just don't roll over them. No, I don't. Right. I'm not. No. All right. So my real next one. So I was thinking of Epcot, and I was thinking of World Showcase, and that seems like an easy one, and I could probably do my entire top 10 by going around each pavilion. But I thought, well, let me pick the one I would want to stay at the most. And it wasn't actually that hard. It's one of my favorite new places to go to in all of Disney, much less Epcot, is the Ratatouille courtyard in the France Pavilion.
Oh, nice.
It's just breathtaking. I love going there just to go there. I love the attraction, but not to even go on the attraction, assuming I don't have my Lightning Lane pass and I'm not waiting in the 90-minute line. But just going there and exploring and hanging out. And the France Pavilion is already one of my favorites for the atmosphere and the music. And going into the new courtyard really takes you away, because now you're off of the main thoroughfare of World Showcase. And it's so set up to be a place to stay. There's a Hotel du Marché is right there. There's a sign for it. I don't know what's behind the door. It's probably a storeroom, but they can turn that into a nice place to stay. Go get a macaron when I want some. Visit Le Cave d'Ego, if I'm saying that right. The Ego. get some wine from Anton Ego, and but just hang out. It's like, if without going to France and Paris specifically, I feel like, because I've never been there, this is as close as I'm going to get. But again, it's just so beautiful, and especially at night, I can imagine how beautiful when there aren't hundreds of people there visiting, but how beautiful and quiet it would be under the glowing sign of Gusteau's and the Skyliner in the distance. One of my favorite places to go, and I would love to not just stay the night there. If I could spend my whole vacation staying there, I'd be happy, but I'll take one night. That's a good call. You could also just go stay in Paris too, which would basically be the same thing. But that's not in Walt Disney World, and that wasn't the premise of our question. That was not the assignment. So I got to take the shortcut here. All right, I'll follow you around the world. I'll follow you around the room and follow you around the world, and I will also go over to Epcot, specifically into World Showcase, where I actually had two, but this is going to come as no shock to anybody that knows me or has ever listened to an episode of the show before. Very, very, very high on my list was certainly going to Japan. Yes. And I'd give myself two different options here, because I'm not a camper. I'm not even a glamper, but I think with the right type of tent, I would sort of move those red umbrellaed tables and push them aside or remove them, and I would camp up top outside next to Katsura Grill. You have the sort of bamboo at your back rustling in the night. You have the beautiful, again, the serenity of the music and the waterfall and the lanterns and the sushi and the koi pond. I'm assuming that Katsura Grill is just open for my disposal like all night long. Of course. It for me remains one of my favorite places in all of Walt Disney World. I love the peace and serenity and the happiness that simple location brings me when I go. That being said, if we're going to sort of have a little poetic and creative license, I would also wonder what it would be like to spend the night inside of the castle, the Shirazagi, or the white egret castle that was sort of based off that Himeji castle in Japan. I love this idea of this replica of this castle that's 700 plus years old, and what it could look like to experience it inside, and the views, the sort of commanding views that you would have, not just of the Japan pavilion itself, but all of World Showcase from that location. I love, you know what? I was torn between those two. And I knew, I had a feeling you were going to go there, so I gave it to you because that's how much I care. But yeah, I'm with you. That's one of my, I feel like we say this on every single show we do together, but that's one of both of our favorite places is that little courtyard up in Japan. You know what we need to do, Tim? We need to go to like real Japan together. That I'm going to do another Adventures by Disney, like a group Adventures by Disney to Japan in 2025, right? You don't know that? Yeah. You have to come. Everybody would be so happy if you were need that ultra super awesome first class little apartment plane. No. Celebrations Magazine, by the way, is now on sale at celebrationspress.com. It's more like a GoFundMe just to get Tim to Japan. We're doing a GoFundMe to go to Paris. Hey, forget that. You and I don't know. No, I feel like we have. You and I have been together up in that courtyard in Japan. We have. There you go. We need to like record something together at Japan. I know. When the new restaurant open. The new izakaya is open. Oh my God, I can't wait. As if Japan couldn't. If like the perfect Japan pavilion couldn't get any more perfect. The fact that an izakaya is opening, has me incredibly excited. Okay. Well, I'm also finishing up Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, so we can share some good Nintendo stories there. No spoilers though. Let's see. For my, it's funny because I'll move away from World Showcase, but honestly, if we were doing a top 10, this could have been World Showcase all the way around. Maybe that'll be another thing we could do one day. But getting away from there, I'm going to stay in Epcot though, and I'm going to go to that other part in Epcot, the part up front. And I thought this would be really fun to go to the Seas with Nemo and Friends Pavilion. And not the attraction itself, although that might be fun. And I've long thought about doing this ever since back to the days of the living seas. And when it rained and rained and rained, but just camping out in the aquarium, and in particular up on the second floor when you go down that corridor and you get that circular viewing area, just planting yourself there and just spending the night surrounded by the water and the fish. And it's just so beautiful there. But there's so many places in the pavilion. You could stay out on the main floor underneath the diving tubes and in with Bruce the shark. I'm not sure if that would be the most relaxing place in the world, but that place, that circular viewing area, I just love staying in there just as long as I can. Fortunately, there's always a lot of people there in tour groups. Another great place if you were doing you're a kid and you're doing your birthday party at a science museum kind of place, that would be cool, because I know aquariums you can do that sort of thing. And such a beautiful spot to hang out and have burgers. I guess having fish wouldn't be a good idea. Having burgers.
Okay. You know what? I'll come back then. Like you, I'll circle back to World Showcase a little later. I'm going to go to one. I would be shocked if this was on your list. And I'd be shocked if it's on a lot of people's list, because I don't think, and I think for some years now, even pre-COVID, I think that this area has been off limits to guests. But at one point, it used to be open, and it used to be sort of my favorite, like, come with me. Tim, I think you're like me. When we are with friends and family, we have these moments where we're just so excited to share a detail, a story, a sort of magical thing that maybe people don't often see in Walt Disney. It's why I used to love giving private tours. I used to give private tours of Magic Kingdom, and I used to love sort of showing off these little things that people wouldn't necessarily go to. And this room is actually within an attraction, but it is not part of the attraction. I think that one you could access anymore, and really was a lot of people I think didn't know that it was there. I'm being very sort of evasive in terms of getting to it, but the place that I'd love to spend the night is the captain's quarters on the Liberty Square riverboat. Oh, so if you remember back when, this is the dream sequence, back on the second deck of the Liberty Square riverboat, like outside sort of the wheelhouse, are the captain's quarters. And I believe it's closed off now. It's a very simple, it's a very small room with a desk and a shelf and a small bed and a nightstand and a mirror. And it's not big and it's not fancy, and it's very simple, which is part of the reason why I love it so much. You would never guess by looking at the room behind me and all sort of my, Disney and fan art and stuff and collectibles that I have behind me. But I really sort of love this and embrace this. It sort of goes back to my love of Japan, right? This idea of Ma, this celebration of simplicity and not the things, but almost like the space in between them, and this idea of Japanese minimalism. But that's what this very simple captain's quarters look like. It is not elegant. It is not fancy. It is not the Cinderella suite. It is quite modest, and it's part of what I love. But the bed has a little window next to it, and the desk has a little window next to it. And I love the water. I love the history and the story and the sound of that paddle wheeler and the steam, like that chugging of the steam engine as you sort of ply the rivers of America. I think it would be a very relaxing, quiet, peaceful, and very restful night spent just sort of wandering around, or even sort of docked, in Liberty Square, but going around the rivers of America at night, sleeping in the humble captain's quarters.
I love. So we are tooling around the rivers of America, right? We're not just staying docked.
We can
right?
tool. Listen, I don't want to put anybody out, but yes, if we could go around in circles, I'm perfectly like the Disney Cruise Line. I don't care about the ports. I don't care about the ports, just so I can be on the ship.
No, I was going to say this is fantastic because I know one of your perpetual goals, I think, in life is to get me on a Disney cruise one day. It will happen every time we meet. You try and get me one, and who knows? This one you got a real shot on. I can handle that one because I have my trepidations about cruising and being seasick and all that kind of stuff. I think I can handle this one.
This one, I think you're okay.
You might have gotten the solution. So I think we're good. I love that idea. Let's see. Where am I going to? You know, I'm going to do this because you were saying this and it made me think of something else and then made me think of something else. And this one, you'll see what I mean. You didn't throw this out as a can't do, but I'm going to go back to something that isn't around anymore because you didn't say I couldn't. So when you were talking about the captain's quarters on the boat, I was thinking of another boat where I think there was a room. And I don't know if there were captain's quarters specifically, but inside Donald's boat in Two Town Fair, there was a little place you can go in and look at the map. And I thought that'd be fun. But then I immediately thought, wait a minute, forget it. Mickey's Country House, Minnie's Country House.
Oh, nice.
How fun would it have been to stay in either one of those? And
really
I can't decide which one I would rather stay in.
That's a nice pull right there. I didn't even think about that.
I didn't even think. I think Minnie's Country House. If you had to choose one, which one would you stay in? That's a tough one.
Remember, wasn't it Minnie's house that had the kitchen with like the pies and stuff? But assuming that those were actually edible. She also had the nice garden in the back too.
Right. Went to the food.
Yeah, I might go with Minnie's.
I love it. There you go. Going by. Hey, the refrigerator full of cheese. Was that in Minnie's house? Or I think it was Minnie's house.
That's my house. My house is
well,
basically
your house. Honestly, that's my house too. We went shopping and my daughter came over and wow, that's great. Look at the cheese drawer. Yep, that's your kitchen, Pops. That's my drawer.
It's why I loved going to Paris with my daughter when we went to Disneyland Paris because every restaurant is just bread and cheese. I'm like, this is
fromage.
This is what heaven is. This. And I got home and none of my clothes fit. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'll stick with you again, right? I'm following you around the world. Okay. And this idea of places that no longer, well, it sort of exists, but doesn't really anymore. And this might be the most extreme and unrealistic of all the unrealistic places that we're talking about. And this one, I would be outside of my comfort zone in some respects and very much within my comfort zone in others, because I love the idea of, I love abandoned places, right? I love being able to, not that I get to go and explore them on my own, but virtually through the power of the internet. There are urban explorers and other explorers that go and explore and visit abandoned sites. And there's something that's incredibly fascinating to me about that. And one of the most intriguing of all the still remaining abandoned and relatively untouched sites in all of Walt Disney World that I would love to stay in now, and yes, I'll deal with the camping because I'm going to have to camp there. I'm going to have to deal with the bugs, and I'm going to deal with all the stuff that makes me uncomfortable, would be Discovery Island.
Yes.
I would love to go over to, because some of the buildings are actually still there. You can still see there's a remnant of the buildings, and it literally is like, it's like I also love dystopian films and stuff like that too. I know I'm a weirdo, but it's almost like this post-apocalyptic snapshot in time. It wasn't just a place where, animals and birds and stuff like that were kept, but it was this, this island that had shops and stores and things to do and recreational activities and stuff too. And now it's sort of and don't ever do this, but some knuckleheads have actually gone and sort of urban explored there, and they will never be allowed back into Walt Disney World ever again whenever they get out of jail. But there have been some pictures taken of abandoned Discovery Island. And I remember going there as a kid when it was obviously open And so the idea of visiting a place that no one has seen in such a long time, that I have memories of visiting as a kid and really has not been touched in decades. Disney has allowed the natural inhabitants, the birds and the animals and the creatures that inhabit Discovery Island to take over Discovery Island. Not like Island of Dr. Moreau kind of weird way, but those are sort of the only inhabitants and people that are allowed to go on there now. But I would love to urban explore sort of some of the building remnants that were there, see if it sparks any kind of memories and just sort of get a sense of a little bit of lost Walt Disney World.
I love that. Actually, I had that next to Tom Sawyer Island. As same idea. I need a cabin, if I'm going to stay there. But
yeah, it would
I
be
think
nice
that's
if
a
the
great
cabin was
idea.
there. Yeah.
I don't even know. I feel like I should know if is there any like wildlife nature preserve thing going on over there, like officially, or was there?
So there was
kind of what it is,
right? I mean, so remember at first, before Disney got here, before it was Discovery Island, it was Raz Island. It was owned by a radio DJ like back in the 30s, and then it became Riles Island after that, and then Disney purchased it in like 65, I think. Then they made it Treasure Island, right? At first it was Treasure Island, and you did this like Walt Disney World cruise tour, and there was a very sort of loose pirate theming on top of these animal exhibits that were there. And I think there was like 400 different like types of birds. Then it became Discovery Island in the late 70s, probably like 77, 78, somewhere around there. And it closed, I think like a decade later, like 88, 89, somewhere around. But the animals that were there, like the vultures and all the other, I believe that they're still there, like because so many natural inhabitants and predators and what sort of took over the island, they allowed them to just sort of stay there. And I don't think that there's any plans to do anything with it at this point.
It's fun because we go staying at the Wilderness Lodge in Contemporary quite often. It's actually one of our favorite non-attraction attractions is the boat loop there when it's running. Although last time I was there, I don't think they're running that. Hopefully they're running it again. But no, we love that, like going around, especially when you go out and around Discovery Island around the back, but just looking at the shoreline and seeing a big bird. What is that bird? And having that thought, like, what would it be like to be there and wander around? And is it creepy, abandoned, especially when it's at night? Oh.
And if you ever take out a watercraft or even sort of go like back and forth, if you take out a watercraft, you cannot approach the island. The security boats will swarm very, very quickly on you. But if depending on how close you get, or even some of the Disney watercraft, you can see little bits of remnants sometimes of what was on the island.
Yeah, it's like a story waiting to be told.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. I think we left top 10 in the rearview mirror.
Ages ago
on this show.
Ages ago.
But I am running down on my list here. Let's see what I got left here. All right, I'll do this one. This was the other, and actually this is the first thing I thought of, and I don't remember much about it. This is another one of those things. It's not here anymore, but I loved it today. And it'd be fun to go back and visit these days. And this was in Epcot and in Innoventions. And for a while, you could visit the House of Innoventions.
Wow.
If you remember this.
Nice retro pull. I like this.
Yeah. And that was always one of my favorite things to do. It was one of the few things that had a line you had to wait for. And I don't remember a whole lot about it, but it was the House of the Future. And you were the idea of Innoventions in Epcot. You would see what's the latest and greatest or on the horizon in terms of technology. In this case, what's coming to the home. And I remember like a big jacuzzi tub with a built-in TV. And I feel like if we went back there, because this was this 90s when I would have been seeing this. And they probably had things like a big 32-inch plasma TV, ooh, or a device that will talk to you and you can say, turn the lights like 25%. Stuff we would look at and go, or your kids especially, look at this. Isn't this fantastic? This is my everyday life, Pops. What's the big deal? It would probably be fun to look at it, but back in the day, it was so fun to look at. But to spend the night in the House of Interventions, yes, please. And then when the Rainbow Tunnel was in Interventions for a while, spending the night there. But that's a whole other thing I might get to later. But
interesting. I too have just a couple more on my list that I can just hit very, very quickly. I won't even do any honorable mentions. That's how quickly I'll go through them. I have one I can add more before, if you're going to rattle off a bunch. Well, I'll save one for last because I have a feeling it's on your list.
Okay.
I think it has to be on your list. I had the Harambe Wildlife Preserve on my list. And I said, Mangello, look, there's no way in any sort of reality that you are going to camp out in the middle of, this savanna with an outdoor fire pit. Even though there's no animals there, I'm sure the views would be great, but I know you would never really do it. So instead, I will quickly pop over back to World Showcase. And I know I can go visit the real place, but because of sort of the place and time that it is locked into, I would go into the back of the United Kingdom Pavilion, and I would get a little apartment over there on Cherry Tree Lane and have a early 1900s turn of the century sort of evening with a little, I'm sort of, in my mind's eye, Tim, I'm sort of imagining this very sort of Mary Poppins-esque experience in the back of the UK Pavilion, even though it would probably not be like that at all. That's the way I would sort of envision, having a little tea with, not even Mary Poppins, did a little tea with Julie Andrews. And I mean, as long as I'm imagining, and then falling asleep with sort of some music sort of wafting through the air. And the very last place, and I am shocked that this was not the first or early mention on yours or either of our lists. How did we not mention wanting to spend the night in the Haunted Mansion?
You know what? It's the first thing I had on my list.
It's the first thing I had on my list, and we never talked about it.
I know. And then you said Tower of Terror, and that kind of threw me off, and then I never came back to it. But
because I thought this was going to be one you were like, yes, he didn't say it, so I'm gonna take it as the first.
And darn it, I didn't do it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I love the mansion. It probably still remains, my all-time favorite attraction. And then I was like, well, where would I want to sleep? I think I would have to sleep up in the attic.
Really? Because that was the question. Which room are you
I think
picking?
I have to sleep up as wild and creepy as it might be. And I grew up in an really old Victorian house when I lived in New Jersey. And there's something about that attic. We had an attic. When I say it was like that, I just sort of mean sort of the exposed wood, and it sort of smelled a certain way. And that's what this attic reminds me. Now, mind you, the attic in my house totally creeped me out. I was pretty sure it was the Amityville Horror up there and it was haunted, but, because we know, like I think that's where I would want to spend my time and explore and sort of, rifle through some of the trunks that are up there and wonder what sort of stuff from Constance's husbands might be locked away in the attic.
Because I had that, and I was thinking which room, and I felt like if I would have said the attic, you would have. Are you insane, little Timmy Foster? So I thought, like the ballroom would be. I mean, any room, the ballroom, the graveyard. It would be fun. You have your free. This is going back to you're a kid and having a sleepover with your friends and stuff, and you stay in the attic or the ballroom, and then you have dares you have to go on, and you dare someone to go to the graveyard and like pet the dog or something like that. That would be fun. I don't know how much sleeping would get done, but
well, after a while, that song over and over again too would be like Small World. Like, all right, I got it. Graveyard.
It's funny. There were attractions I thought of like that, and I didn't put Small World on my list, but I almost did to think of which room. But I knew, and even Carousel of Progress. Like at some point, I'm trusting that they will turn the music off, because that's a lot. That's a lot to get there.
Wait, quick.
You got more, right?
No. My question to you is this.
Yes. Great
Big Beautiful Tomorrow or Now is the Time?
Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow.
I'm just curious, just question.
All right.
I know, like, even the Shermans, I love Now is the Time. I do. I love Now is the Time. Now is the best time. Be it a time of joy or strife.
I don't think I visited the attraction when that was the song.
I did a lot, and I think that's probably why I think that's probably why it sticks with me so much.
Yeah. I might have when I was little, but I don't remember. So my Carousel of Progress is the current one. So, do you have more, or can I throw a couple?
I'm all done.
You're all done? Wait, I'm the one that can do the honorable mentions.
It's all you, baby. Now is the time.
I didn't have
now
many.
Is the best time. Life is a prize. Live every minute.
All right.
Right here and now, you've got it made.
Well, let's see. So really quickly, one of the things I thought when we were going to do our self-imposed rules for this, I had a feeling you were going to do a rule. And you kind of did in the beginning of the show. We're not talking about a place you can actually stay. We're talking about places that you can't actually stay. But I did think of, if he's going to let me include one, I was trying to think of what's a place I could stay that I have no hope of staying in my life. And there's so many, but I just went, let's go to the Grand Suite at the Grand Floridian. It's bigger than my house. It's bigger than my house. And five balconies. And I mean, that would be cool. But the one, I didn't put the Castle Suite as a place I would like to stay because I'm not sure if I would get creeped out. I did find out, I don't know if this is accurate, but I thought a fun fact I think I learned was, like, you can't book it right now, as even if you wanted to. It's not a place you can book. I mean, if your name started with Tom and ended with Cruise, I guess they'd work something out for you. But for you and me, not so much. But I read somewhere, and I don't know if this is true, but they said if there's tours you can take, and you can add on a visit to the Castle Suite on one of the tours for the low price of $12,000, which makes it not just the most expensive room to stay, which you can't stay at, it's just the most expensive room to visit. Now, I read it on the internet. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But that's fun. One thing, though, I think I'm surprised neither one of us said it. I held off it forever. Was any building on Main Street, USA, the second floor, put a place up there to stay, and I'll stay there. Just don't put it next to the voice lessons room, because that I can't take all night long. But and that was it. I asked my mother this question, and she went right to, this was a good one, I thought. She's going to go living with the land, not in the gardens, but I want to stay in the farmhouse.
That's it. I was just going to say, how did none of us mention the farmhouse?
That's fun. Order up from the garden grill for dinner or breakfast, but that would be fun. And that kind of rounded out my list for places to stay. And so many we didn't get to.
Yeah, the farmhouse. I'm
sure everybody's saying it.
The farmhouse was in the back of my mind, sort of being up and staying up in that second story bedroom, and the way I'm picturing it, and having a nice little living room downstairs. And
I feel like through the magic of forced perspective, that second floor is actually like 4 feet tall.
And that's like perfect for me. So,
you said it.
I think there's other places too. One place I had on my list and that I didn't mention, and actually the person who Thatcher had this on his too, but I don't know if it's where I would want to stay overnight. Again, I seem to sort of gravitate towards simpler places, simpler times. I wonder what those Echo Lake apartments look like near the 50s Primetime Cafe and the Tune-In Lounge. And if I could go downstairs and get some of the meatloaf and a PB&J milkshake and take it back up to my room with me, that's a good night right there.
Well, I'll do this because you actually, I forgot about it, but I assumed you were going to take it because you threw it out as the example. So I didn't even bother. But Galaxy's Edge, staying there, like staying in Batu, like having a place in the marketplace, staying there. If you're going to go for the peanut butter milkshake, which is the correct answer, but I would go I have to go get some blue milk, see what that's nice. But I had a random thought. I was thinking of Galaxy's Edge and either staying in Batuu or staying on the Millennium Falcon. That would be fun.
Oh, that's nice.
You know,
that's a good one.
Or I had a funny thought, and Star Wars people go with me here, but like on Rise of the Resistance, and I thought it'd be. I'm not sure how fun it would be to stay there, being on a First Order cruiser, and the room with all the stormtroopers could be fun, but it's a lot of eyes looking at me. And then I had a thought, and they don't have this in this room, but it just brought to mind a conundrum I always felt with Star Wars was whenever you're on the Death Star, an Imperial cruiser or something like that, you're in the hangar or the Millennium Falcon, and there's always that big gaping chasm, that hole on the floor with the riser that comes up to bring the troops on and stuff. And I can't remember if you're just a worker bee on the Death Star walking around. And how often does it happen? You're talking to, hey, did you see the game last night? Yeah. And you didn't see, and you fall. And I'd be afraid I would do that, even though they're not there on Rise of the Resistance. So I'd probably go to the Millennium Falcon. That was just a random, bizarre thought that was so silly. I thought I'm not going to include it on the show. But you opened the door.
Right. Just because of OSHA, there's no way that's, insert Wilhelm scream here.
I don't think OSHA exists in the Star Wars.
Clearly it does not. I mean, a guardrail. Is it so
There's
much
no rails on the Death Star laser cannon thing? Like, what's, jeez.
They call them
like they
lean rails.
They couldn't spring the extra $5 to put the rail on.
All right, wait. What extinct attraction? They call them lean rails.
Oh. Timekeeper.
Yo, God. If you were here, I'd give you such a hug.
Oh, I'd love that. Would be fun. Monsters. Oh, all right. You know what? There could be a part 2, 3, 4.
There's a lot, and there's a lot that we missed, which is why you, who is listening, screaming at your car, screaming at your phone, potentially if you're on the treadmill, screaming in the middle of the gymnasium like a crazy person. What did we miss? What is the place that you would love to ideally, in a fantasy world, spend the night in Walt Disney World? Call me right now from wherever you are. Call the voicemail. I'll play it on the air. 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1. If you're not a voicemail kind of guy or gal, it's okay. I'll put the question in the clubhouse. Really curious to see where you would like to spend the night with or without little Timmy Foster, and your copy, by the way, of Celebrations magazine that I'm sure you'll bring along with you.
Woohoo! That might be the fall issue, which is going to press as we speak.
Stop it.
I will not stop it. We're going to put it in the mail.
Don't listen,
Yes.
Timmy Foster. Don't stop what you're doing. Whatever.
You know what else we got going on?
No.
We have a new book.
What?
112 Disney Lists, Volume 2. I
Wait a
finally
minute.
did Volume 2.
That would make
It's
it
out.
220 something.
Yeah,
List
and we
total.
updated the first one because the fastest attraction might not be the fastest attraction since we did the first book. And I'm hard at work. We have our 50-year Walt Disney World coffee table book, our 40-year Epcot coffee table book. I'm working on the 100-year Celebrations coffee table book with free pin, which I still have to design.
You could literally build a coffee table out of your coffee table.
You could build
books.
a coffee table out of the book. A coffee table becomes a coffee. Oh, I'll put legs in it, like the
like Kramer.
that happened on that show. Yes. So that's coming soon. Many details to come, and I've got to really work hard. But
Yeah, and you can find all that good stuff and Tim Foster over at Celebrations Press. I'll certainly link to it in the show notes, but hopefully you know it, you love it, and have it memorized and have your subscription as well. We'd also like to know, what top 10 list would you like to have us cover on a future episode? Again, put it in the clubhouse, call the voicemail, or email me, lou@wdwradio.com. Little Timmy Foster, I love you, man. I love doing these with you. I can't wait for you to come down here. We're going to do one together. We're going to frolic. We're going to eat, and we're going to hit all the places that we've talked about. I mean, not staying over, but we'll at least Japan. We'll at least hit
I think let's put a call in, see if they'll let us spend the night in Japan. We'll have a slumber party. We'll do it.
I think that you should come here, and
Yeah.
I think you've only been to maybe one in all the years. One, maybe two. Maybe we need to do a meet of the month at Japan with Tim Foster.
Yes. Oh yeah. Okay. We'll figure it out.
We'll make
my
that-
people will get with you.
I am.
That means I'll call you later.
This is right. You are the best, brother.
I love being here. Love being here. Love you.
Oh, shucks, man. Love you too. I'm going to stop recording before it gets weird now. It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where I invite you to test your knowledge of Walt Disney World history or see how well you pay attention to the details which you see, hear, or remember. And if you think you know the answer, you can enter for a chance to win a Disney prize package. This week's trivia contest is once again brought to you by you, because as part of the WDW Radio Nation, you help bring every episode of the show to life, every live broadcast, the contest, the giveaways. They're all thanks to and by, for, with, and about you. And you can find out how you can help the show for as little as $1 per month. But you also get exclusive rewards every month, like scavenger hunts, trivia quests. You can participate in our group video calls, get access to our private Facebook group, there's shirts, stickers, monthly care packages from the parks, early access and discounts to special events, and a lot more. And I appreciate your love and support and friendship and help. And more importantly, I love being able to give back to you every month. I want to quickly thank some new and longtime members of the Nation family, including Jessica Cool, Mike Fox, Brian Moran, Marie Rispoli, Kerry Lee, and Jenny. Just Jenny. If you want to find out how you can help the show and our Dream Team project, which benefits the Make-A-Wish Foundation of America, you can visit www.radio.com/support. Now, before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week, I asked you to tell me what show in Walt Disney World were Bird and Tiger once the hosts of. It's not what they were, it's who they were. It's actually the names of the hosts of this extinct Walt Disney World attraction. Thanks to all of you who entered, got this one correct, and knew that Bird and Tiger were once the hosts of the Trans Center. You're like, what? Where? The Trans Center was in World of Motion, more specifically at the post-show area of World of Motion. They were sometimes known as Bird and Robot. Bird was a toucan, and an assembly line robot was Tiger. So like the Enchanted Tiki Room meets GM assembly line, which is basically what that was. And believe it or not, it was one of the most popular shows in Epcot when it opened with the park in October 1982. So as you disembarked from your World of Motion attraction vehicle, Bird was the animatronic toucan that did all the talking, while Tiger was using his arm to interact with different objects that Bird was pointing out throughout the show. Like the attraction and the post-show itself, it really was about showcasing and kind of showing off the advanced technology of the General Motors assembly line and encouraging people to hopefully decide to go home and buy a GM vehicle. Now, they remained at and with the attraction until World of Motion permanently closed in January 1996 to make way for, eventually, Test Track. Anyway, I took all the correct entries, randomly selected one, and last week you were once again playing for a WDW Radio mug, pin, and a mystery prize. And last week's winner, randomly selected, is Brianna J. So Brianna, congratulations. I'll get your prize package out to you right away. If you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So this week we're going to go from Epcot over not to the Disney Village Marketplace, but to Pleasure Island, because I want you to tell me who served as the icon and really the mascot for Pleasure Island since its opening. This one, too, a little bit tricky. You have to sort of go back into your memory banks. But if you remember the old logo for Pleasure Island, there was an icon and a person and a mascot that adorned that logo, and this mascot had a name. Who was it? Who was this icon and mascot for Pleasure Island? You have until Sunday, August 13th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to go to WDWRadio.com, click on this week's podcast, use the form there. Once again, you're going to play for a WDW Radio mug, a pin, and another mystery prize. So good luck and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in this and every week. I know how valuable your time is, and I sincerely appreciate you spending and sharing some of it with me. I'm really curious to hear where you'd like to spend the night in Walt Disney World, so please come be part of the community and conversation over in the Clubhouse at wdwradio.com/clubhouse. Like the WDW Radio page at facebook.com/WDW Radio. You can also connect with me directly on social. I am at Lou Mongello on Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. You can email me, Lou at WDW Radio, if you have a question that you'd like me to answer on an upcoming episode of the show. And you can call the voicemail with a question, a comment, a hello from the parks, or an answer to this week's question about where you want to spend the night in Walt Disney World at 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1. And of course, as much as I love connecting with you online, nothing beats a handshake and a hug, which is why our next meet of the month in Walt Disney World is going to be Saturday, August 19th from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. in Epcot, just in time for the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. We're going to meet indoors, you're welcome, at the Brewing Labs over at the Odyssey. Come alone, bring the whole family, come for the meet and stay for the festival. I would love for you to come by, say hi. You can learn more on RSVP on the events page at wdwradio.com. Please also visit LouMongello.com to find out how we might be able to work together. In addition to everything I do on the Disney side of things, I'm a keynote speaker and a coach and an event host on a mission to really help you build your brand and business by launching, growing, and monetizing the thing that you love through one-on-one coaching, my weekly mastermind group. A new group is going to be forming in September, and my events, including my 50-person Momentum Weekend Workshop this September. We now have only 5 seats left, but you can still take advantage of a $100 off coupon by using the discount code UNLOCK100 in this 3-day, one-room, 50-person, intimate and interactive workshop. You will learn practical and tactical lessons and strategies, start doing the work right in the room, network with other like-minded people in an environment of inspiration, education, and community. To learn more, you can visit LouMongello.com/momentum or reach out to me directly if you have any questions. And whether you're coming to Momentum, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, is in Walt Disney World, it's during the Food and Wine Festival. There's always a method to my madness. Or if you're taking your next Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line vacation, or you're traveling to anywhere in the world, you can please go and visit our friends over at mousefantravel.com for not just an exceptional level of personal service, which really is their hallmark, but they're also going to help you find the best possible prices, create a vacation that's specifically designed for you and your family, actively seek out any and all discounts that are available, and it all comes at no cost to you. You can visit them over at mousefantravel.com. Tell them Lou sent you. And finally, always remember to choose the good, to find the good in everything and every person that you encounter, because you have the power to make a difference, to inspire others, and create a ripple effect of kindness, compassion, and happiness that I promise you will make the world a better place and you happier, one person, one interaction, one day at a time. And believe it or not, you've already done it, because simply by you being here, you have made me happy. I am so grateful to you and for you. I hope the show has brought you a little bit of happiness and put a smile on your face this week. And I really do hope that this is your best week ever. So until next time, love you, appreciate you. See ya.
Hi, Mr. Lou. It's Peter Batista from Rhode Island. I wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I hope you had a great day. See you soon. Bye.
Hi, Lou. It's Tom Free calling from Manhattan. How are you? I'm just calling to say thank you for the podcast episode called Joining Forces, the Powerful and Remarkable Relationship Between Disney and the Military, which is a very appropriate title. I just want to commend you and your guest on the show, Lee Stanley, for the idea and for making the show happen. It's amazing on so many levels. But I was specifically caught up in the discussion about the work Disney did producing films to support the armed forces during World War II. I did know about it, like many people, but I wasn't really aware of the full scope. And about 2010, I had bought the Walt Disney Treasures set, the DVDs called Walt Disney on the Front Lines, which focuses on those years. And I watched some of the cartoons, Donald Duck getting drafted and talking about people paying taxes and Der Fuhrer's face and so forth. And they were great. And then I put the DVD back on this shelf, and it just sat there for 13 years until I listened to your podcast episode. And until then, I never would have even thought to watch the Disney's feature film Victory Through Air Power, which is also on that set, if I hadn't heard you and Lee talking about it on the podcast. But I did watch it. I was completely blown away by it. It's amazing, and it explained the strategy of winning the war through air power in such a clear visual way that it really gave me a whole new perspective on World War II, but also the degree to which the Disney studio rose to this incredibly difficult challenge of communicating those kinds of ideas to the public in a vivid, interesting way, because it was very complex, very high stakes, but crucial for people to see and realize why their commitment to the war effort was really a matter of life and death. So both your film and your discussion with Lee opened my eyes to a much wider degree the studio's achievements and capabilities beyond entertainment, and obviously the debt we owe our military, which I appreciate on an even deeper level now. So I also read that the movie helped persuade Franklin D. Roosevelt to finally commit to a full strategic air campaign against Germany. So that's amazing. And your discussion about Shades of Green and many other aspects of Disney and the military, all truly fascinating. So again, thanks to you and Lee for a really important episode, a really great episode, and all the best to you. Take care. Bye.
Hi, it's Elizabeth from Massachusetts. I just listened to a really oldish episode, episode 514, about the most emotional experiences in Disney World. Amazing episode. Love the theme and the topic. I would say one of my most emotional things connected to the parks and being there in Disney World definitely has to be with kind of how you guys mentioned, but bringing other people to the parks and seeing them experience things for the first time. I can't tell you the amount of experiences that I've had where I bring friends who haven't been to the parks since they were young, and they just know I like Disney, and I convince them to come, and getting to see them either remember things from their childhood and coming, or just loving what we're doing in the moment, and seeing things and experiencing things for the first time is very emotional, makes me tear up. And a lot of times I don't even tell them, but that would be it for me. But yeah, amazing episode. My family is actually traveling later this month, so I'm really excited to be going. My dad's coming with us. We haven't come in years and years, so it'll be a great time. I hope everyone is having a magical summer. Stay magical, be magical, and I'll talk to y'all real soon. Bye.
Hey Lou, it's Patrice Roberti from Metro Boston, and I had to just call you and tell you I was just doing it. I was coming down the stairs here at work, and I found myself singing the WDW Radio song, and I know I do that all the time. I am sure that the people who listen to you do it all the time. At your events, you have to ask folks if they always find themselves singing the WDW Radio song to themselves, because I bet you that they do. Take care. It's a nice, as I said before, it's a nice little song to sing. Take care. Bye.